Hey, you're looking at activity 3.2.8, illness and disease, leading causes of death. You have to research the most recent information on the leading causes of death in the United States. You have to give your source for that information, and then for four of those leading causes of death, you need to describe the cause of death and maybe give some ways that it can be avoided. The most important piece of, or one of the most important pieces of information here is that this is the leading causes of death in the United States. That's really important. You could write a great description of tuberculosis and how it kills people and how it can be avoided and you could have the most up-to-date information on tuberculosis and it would all not be useful because tuberculosis is not a leading cause of death in the United States. Let me put the leading causes of death in the United States up on the screen right now. So this website is cdc.gov. CDC stands for Centers for Disease Control. Um, and it's a great resource for this activity. I'm going to scroll down and show you the leading causes of death in the United States. Okay, so you've picked four of them. Um, Now, for each one of them, you're going to describe the cause of death, and let's talk about what that means. So, when you're describing the cause of death, one of the things that you want to be thinking about is what vital process does this disease interfere with, um, and in interfering with it, cause you to die. A great example is heart disease. Well, how does heart disease kill you? Heart disease kills you because it damages the heart. And the heart is important because without the heart, we can't circulate blood to the tissues of your body. And when the tissues of your body don't get oxygen and don't have their waste removed, they die. Um, so the cause of heart disease is because it damages the heart. You can talk about also how it damages the heart. How does heart disease damage the heart? Well, if the blood flow to the tissues of the heart are stopped, for example, the heart tissue could itself die, and when the heart tissue, the heart muscle dies, the function of the heart is impaired, and triggers a death of the heart and uh, irreversible or catastrophic heart damage. Another way you can describe the cause of death is what causes it. Does it have a genetic component? For example, heart disease does have a genetic component. Some people are born with more of a risk for contracting heart disease or having heart problems than other people. Um, but heart disease also has a strong lifestyle and environmental um, contributor. So if you have a lifestyle that contributes to or is correlated, meaning that it's associated with having heart disease, um, that could be a cause of developing heart disease. Um, Another thing you should be aware of is if this disease is caused by some microorganism, like, say, influenza and pneumonia. It's not a huge leading cause of death in America, but it is a leading cause of death. And influenza and pneumonia aren't caused by um, parts of your body malfunctioning on your own or you making poor choices or making lifestyle choices or having genetic predispositions to getting them. They're caused by foreign bodies. In the case of influenza, it's caused by a virus. And in pneumonia, it's caused by a bacteria. Now, what that virus in the case of influenza and what that bacteria in the case of pneumonia do that causes your body to malfunction and why it could possibly kill you. What processes do they interfere with? Now, what you also need to do is talk about ways that this cause of death can be avoided, may be avoided. Um, Now, in the case of heart disease, for example, you can lower your risk of developing heart disease if you make lifestyle choices like quitting smoking, uh, regular exercise, um, avoiding stress because those things are associated with heart disease. Um, so for each one of these things, these causes of death, you need to talk about, if possible, there something that you can do to lower your chance of getting it. Now, for some of them, like Alzheimer's disease, as far as I know, there is very little that is conclusively shown that you can do to prevent Alzheimer's disease. Some people say you should learn a second language, keep your mind active. Um, Maybe those things you could include them with a some it is not proven, but some people believe. Um, but in the case of Alzheimer's disease, there might not be anything anyone can do to prevent Alzheimer's disease from developing. In those cases, for that kind of disease, you would say there's just nothing that has been proven to prevent um, Alzheimer's disease. So again, in that case, you would say it's no way that you can avoid it. It seems like if you're going to get it, you're going to get it. Now, the last thing I want to talk about is the source of my research, or the source of your research. For this activity, you need to give some sources for where you got this information. Most likely that's going to be from the internet. What we need to do is pick good internet sources, credible internet sources. Um, Specifically, credible sources according to the Boston Public Schools. So unfortunately, that means that we shouldn't use Wikipedia as a source. You can use Wikipedia to build understanding of the subject, and if you look in a Wikipedia page, so this is the Wikipedia page for cardiovascular disease. There, okay, I've centered it a little better. So if you scroll down to the bottom of the page, you'll see some sources under the references section, and you can usually also come down to these if you click on the footnote here, and it'll also bring it up if you just scroll over it. Sometimes we can use these as sources. Um, if it's a book, we probably don't want to use it because it's not going to be available for us to check. But usually, we want to use websites like the Centers for Disease Control, the World Health Organization, um, the National Institute of Health, the European Center for Disease Control. Um, these websites are credible sources because basically because they're government websites. They have a lot of fact checking that goes into the content that's put on that website. So it's not just some guy writing on a blog. They have a little bit more rigor in what's allowed on their site, so we can trust them as credible sources. You can also look on WebMD, but I would actually not recommend looking on WebMD because it is not as easy to verify that the sources are credible. Because we won't be, it's very hard to cite things on WebMD using MLA format for citations. Um, and it's not as rigorously checked, I believe, as the CDC. And a lot of their information is actually coming from the Center for Disease Control and websites like that, or the National Institute. So, to recap, we need to pick 4 leading causes of death in the United States. And we need to describe the cause of death for each of them. So you're going to be doing 4 different paragraphs. I'm sorry, 4 different diseases, describing the cause of death for each. And you need to describe the ways it may be avoided, if that's possible. And finally, we need to give the source for your information for each disease. So each paragraph should have this general format. First, the name of the cause of death. A description of how that cause of death develops and kills you. It's a really cheery subject. A few sentences on if it can be avoided and how. 1 or 2 sentences. And then you need to give a source for this information. Again, you're going to do this 4 times. Make sure that you don't write in list form. You want to write in complete sentences and in paragraph form. Otherwise, you're just going to have to do it again. Okay, good luck, And if you need any more questions answered, you can leave any questions in the comments of this video. All right, thank you.